Hello everybody, once again. Today's pattern is going to be a French Partridge Mayfly, which is suggested pattern by our chairman, but favoured by John Pierce, who I believe has demonstrated it on a few occasions at the workshops that we've been holding. Mine's a slight adaptation of this, and I think John Pierce's fly was the Roy Christie version, but I've just taken a couple of elements out and added as well. So basically I'm using a long shank size 12, which is this is just a Camasan B800, just removing the barb. Put the vise, and then I'm using the UTC thread, which I've come to like a lot. But one of the things that I was aware of, and doing a little bit of research, just found some people have said the same, that it is a little bit slippy. So to counteract that, certainly on the larger patterns, I'm just going to put a little bit, just a tiny amount of super glue to bed the fly. I think Lindsay Simpson's an exponent of the foundation of super glue. So we're just winding that thread, loosely touching turns all the way down the body, just in case there's any super glue that's left. Just remove that. And the tail in this pattern is crop pheasant serpent's tail. I'm going to put in, I think, about 5 strands of the hull. Yeah, so what I've done is draw them out from the stalk, making sure the tips are more or less in line, and then just flick them off. And if there's a slight curvature on these fibres, try and get those so they sit on top of the shank. And I'm looking for a length of about 1.5 times the shank length. So we've got the shank length, which is about that. So double check. So we offer that up. That's about twice. So what we can do is just draw it through. And that looks about right to me. Shank length. Yep. So taking that down to the start of the bend, and then I'm just going to put a couple of turns underneath just to lock it off and just kick them up in the air slightly. And then I'm going to bind down the waist, down the body, just to keep everything sort of neatly tapered. So I'm coming down to about 3/4 of the way down the shank, which is going to be the length of the body. Clip that off, and then one of my variations on this is using a 4-pound mono, which is this. I'm just using this magic line, quite small. This is my ribbing, as opposed to, I think in Roy Christie's it was a fine gold wire. I just bird the mono, just give it a little bit of grip when we tie it in, and then take everything down, again touching turns all the way down to the tail position. And then the dubbing material on this is, I'm using this Life Cycle and you can see there's a tan here, but I blended that with a little bit of yellow. I think this is Mayfly Nymph on the Oliver Edwards Masterclass. That is, I think, too yellow, and I think the cream is too cream, so they're very similar materials, and they've got the tiniest little bit of sparkle, which might be picking that up now. So just going to put on small amounts of the dubbing. Twist it up into a rope. And lock those fibres off, and then we can bind that down. I'm going to aim for a tapered body. Just get those down to the tail, and then we're doing it in touching turns every now and again. Just give it a little bit of a twist to get it tight. And we're looking for just over halfway on the shank, because we've got a little bit more possibly. Yeah, we've got to put in a thorax, which is sort of dark brown. So again, this is the life cycle, and they have a dark brown. So I'm just going to tease a few fibres out. Dub that on, and the thorax about 3 millimeters in length, perhaps a little bit more, but I'm going to go over that a little bit to get it the right diameter. Okay, just get all those fibres out of the way. So we're tying in the body hackle, which is, the pattern calls for dark brown badger. Unfortunately, I don't have a dark brown that's long enough. So what I've done is taken a grizzle and just put a little bit of colour on it to darken it down. And I'm using a slightly shorter hackle because I'm going to be tying in another collar hackle, which is a bit longer in the flue, which will help to support the fibres of the French partridge. So I'm just going to wind this down, and we're looking to try and get a segmentation effect with the hackle. So I'm taking that all the way around to the bend, and the dark stalk of the hackle is giving you the banding. So now we're then going to come through in weaving turns so that we don't trap too many of the fibres down as you come through, and obviously this helps to strengthen the hackle somewhat, and because it's not showing I can put more turns of this on than I would if I was using a wire rib. So I'm just taking that through, right through to the front of the brown, and then a couple of locking turns on for good measure. So remove that and remove that, and then just pull those odd fibres back. So I'm going to be using a furnace dark game for the collar hackle, and as I say, that will hope to support the French partridge hackle. So concave side down as opposed to up, which would conventional dry fly, because the slope of the body hackle needs to be mimicked with the collar hackle. So drawing back the fibres, turns in front, and we'll go for 3 turns in front, and then tie that off. And remove the waste. Any trapped fibres, pull them back out of the way. So finally, the body, the head hackle, which in this case is the French partridge. So we're removing all of the fluff. That's the feather. So remove the fluff, and then pinching by the tip. I should do that with a hackle pliers. And stroke all the fibres, many of the fibres as you can, back. So we've got that, which we can then tie in right up against the cock hackle, and bind that down, and then we can remove that side. I'll take that off with a scalpel. And then take the hackle stalk. It's most probably long enough to not to bother with that, but I'm just going to encourage those partridge hackles forward, back rather, and then just try and make sure you turn in front of everything. Try not to twist anything up, otherwise the hackle just doesn't lay nicely. So you've got 3 full turns there. So I'll just lock those off. Again, trying to keep all of those fibres going back. And then remove the stalk. And then wind ahead and just bind the head up against the hackle so as not to destroy that that rake. And you're happy with that. We've got no fibres in the way. A little bit of varnish on the thread. Couple of turns, 3 turns, that, and then whip finish. And then finally with a soft brush, and I've just got an old toothbrush. Just helps to pull out any fibres, put them in the right place. And you have French partridge mayfly. Good at mayfly time obviously, but I think John Pierce was saying that it is a good pattern to just pull through a wave, and I think Keith has had a bit of success with this pattern at Tringford and at Farmore, I believe, just pulling it through a wave. Fish could take it as a daddy long legs, or just anything that's making a disturbance on the fly. Well, I hope you enjoyed that. It was a little bit more challenging than I would have liked. Not the best pattern that I've tied, but unfortunately we are restricted to some extent by the quality of our materials. Packet of French partridge that I've got here is not the best. If you can be selective and then get the hackles that are centered, and you can see that one's slightly off center. If they're centered, then it makes tying the hackle quite easy. Enjoy and see you next time.